Strategy 7. The strategy of provoking the general. Welcome back to the Heavenly Secrets Unrevealed channel, and today we will explore the next strategy in the collection of 36 strategies of human harmony, a treasure trove of ancient wisdom filled with profound lessons and techniques on how to interact and communicate in life. In the previous video, we discussed the 6th strategy, the strategy of flattery, an important communication skill that not everyone masters. The author analyzed the levels of flattery from the highest level of praise to the lower levels, including currying favor, sycophancy, and fawning, while emphasizing the differences between them. Now we will continue to explore the 7th strategy, called the strategy of provoking the general. The strategy of provoking the general focuses on using words and actions to evoke emotions, particularly the competitive spirit of the other party, to achieve one's own goals. How to make someone do what they don't want to do. The strategy of provoking the general primarily involves subtle tactics to push the other party into a state of emotional arousal, anger, shame, defiance, or excitement, causing them to lose control of their emotions and unwittingly be manipulated into doing what you want them to do. In essence, humans are emotional beings, so in interactions, one must employ countless methods to harness the power of emotions to stimulate others' enthusiasm, motivating their passion and energy. Provoking the general is the most effective strategy. In general, the strategy of provoking the general includes the following approaches: using a dragonfly hat to herd ducks into a cage, deliberately underestimating to provoke their competitive spirit, puffing up cheeks, glaring, pounding the table, or pointing fingers to make others angry, acting cold, indifferent, or skeptical to compel others to reveal their true feelings. When facing each other directly, it's about seeing who is more patient and composed, or who can act more subtly and flawlessly, making it impossible for the other party to discern your true intentions. The first step in the strategy of provoking the general, making 20 people fight over one ball. During the Warring States period, Yanzi, a learned and versatile scholar known for his intelligence and wit, was a renowned statesman of the state of Qi, contributing greatly to its strength and prosperity. Duke Jing of Qi appointed him as prime minister. At that time, the state of Qi had 3 great warriors: Gong Sun Jie Tian Kai Chiang and Gu Yezi, collectively known as the 3 heroes of Qi. They were exceptionally brave and highly favored by Duke Jing. Whenever Yanzi encountered these 3, he would respectfully pass by quickly. However, the 3 heroes, whenever they saw Yanzi approaching, would remain seated without standing up, relying on Duke Jing's favor to disregard Yanzi and act as they pleased. At that time, the Tian clan in Qi was growing increasingly powerful, allying with several major nobles to defeat the Yi and Gao clans, who held significant influence. The Tian clan's rising power directly threatened the authority of the state's ruler. Tian Kai Chiang belonged to the Tian clan, and Yanzi feared that the 3 heroes would aid the Tian clan in harming the state. Wanting to eliminate them, but fearing that the Duke would not agree and that the plan might fail, Yanzi quietly resolved to devise a strategy to destroy the 3 heroes. One day, Duke Zhao of Lu visited the state of Qi. Duke Jing of Qi held a banquet to entertain him. Shu Sunbao served as the ceremonial official for Lu, while Yanzi served as the ceremonial official for Qi. The rulers and their ministers sat above, while the 3 heroes carrying swords stood below the steps, displaying an extremely arrogant demeanor. When the 2 rulers were slightly intoxicated from wine, Yanzi said, "In the imperial garden, the golden peaches have ripened. Allow me to pick a few to offer the 2 lords to enjoy the first fruits of the season." Duke Jing ordered someone to fetch them. Yanzi said, golden peaches are rare, I must personally go to pick them." A short while later, Yanzi led the garden keeper to present a jade tray with 6 golden peaches. Duke Jing asked, "Is this all there is?" Yanzi replied, "There are a few more, but they are not yet ripe. I only picked these 6. He then respectfully offered 1 golden peach each to Duke Jing of Qi and Duke Zhao of Lu. Duke Zhao ate the peach and praised its delicious flavor. Duke Jing said, "Golden peaches are very rare. Master Shu Sun, renowned throughout the land, please take one." Shu Sun declined, saying, "How could I compare to Prime Minister Yanzi? This peach should go to him." Duke Jing said, "Since Master Shu Sun has yielded to the Prime Minister, let each of you take 1 peach." The 2 ministers thanked Duke Jing. Yanzi said, "There are 2 golden peaches left in the tray. May your lordship command your subordinates to present their merits, and whoever has the greatest merit shall be rewarded with 1. Duke Jing said, "That is a fine idea," and issued the order. Before he finished speaking, Gong Sun Jai stepped forward and said, "Once while hunting with your lordship, a one-eyed tiger suddenly leaped at you. I used all my strength to kill the tiger, saving your lordship's life. Is such a great deed not worthy of a peach?" Yanzi said, "Risking your life to save your lord is a merit as great as Mount Tai. You deserve a peach." Gong Sun Jai took the peach and stepped back. Gu Yezi shouted, "Killing a tiger is nothing remarkable. When I escorted your lordship across the Yellow River, a crocodile bit the leg of your lordship's horse. I jumped into the river, killed the crocodile, and saved your lordship. Is such a great deed not worthy of a peach?" Duke Jing said, "At that time the Yellow River's waves were fierce and turbulent. If the general had not slain the beast, my life would not have been spared. That is an unparalleled achievement worthy of a golden peach." Yanzi quickly gave a peach to Gu Yezi. Tian Kai Chiang, seeing that the peaches had all been distributed, jumped up in anger and shouted, "I was sent to wage war against the state of Shu, where I killed their commander and captured over 500 prisoners, causing the ruler of Shu to submit in fear and offer tribute. Neighboring small states were also intimidated and pledged allegiance to Qi. Is such a great achievement not worthy of a peach?" Yanzi hurriedly said, "General Tian's merits surpass those of General Gong and General Gu tenfold. Unfortunately, the peaches have all been distributed. Please accept a cup of wine instead. When more peaches ripen, you will be the first to taste them." Duke Jing also said, "Your merit is the greatest, but unfortunately, you spoke too late." Tian Kai Chiang, gripping the hilt of his sword, seethed with rage and said, "Killing a crocodile or a tiger is nothing. I traveled 1,000 miles risking life and death, yet I get no peach. To be humiliated like this in front of 2 lords, how can I go on living?" With that, he drew his sword and took his own life. Gong Sun Ji, shocked, drew his sword and said, "I with lesser merit ate a peach. How can I face living with such shame?" With that, he too took his own life. Gu Yezi, in a somber voice, said, "The 3 of us are sworn brothers. They are both dead. How can I live alone?" With that, he drew his sword and also took his own life. Those present tried to intervene, but were too late. Duke Zhao of Lu, witnessing the scene, felt great pity and said, "I heard that these 3 generals were warriors unmatched by thousands, yet it's a pity they all died over a single peach." Regrettable as it was when facing Yanzi, the master of provocation, they could only meet one fate, death. The fundamental principle of the strategy of provoking the general is to ignite the other party's competitive spirit, pushing them to cast everything aside, even their own lives, to seize what you have set up for them. The second step in the strategy of provoking the general: understand the general first, provoke the general later. To execute the strategy of provoking the general, besides considering the status of the other party, one must pay attention to their personality. Generally, a person's character is revealed through their speech and behavior. Those who speak quickly, move swiftly, and have sharp eyes are easily excitable and often have a fiery temperament. Those who are straightforward, enthusiastic, lively, quick to react and enjoy socializing typically have an open personality. Those with a refined appearance, steady gaze, slow and deliberate speech, and measured actions usually have a composed character. Those who are quiet, restrained, avoid casual laughter or talk, prefer solitude, and shun socializing often have a solitary disposition. Those who boast, flaunt themselves, and enjoy acting superior tend to be arrogant and conceited. Those who are polite, trustworthy, genuinely seek improvement, remain calm and respect. Others are typically humble and cautious. When engaging with individuals of different personalities, one must analyze specifically and treat them accordingly. For example, with extremely arrogant individuals who display a serious demeanor and measured speech, you can start with direct flattery to inflate their ego, leading them to follow your intentions due to their vanity. Such people, when praised highly, will stand on tiptoes to show off for you. Zhuge Liang used this tactic with Guan Yu. After Ma Chao pledged allegiance to Liu Bei, Guan Yu proposed a martial contest with him. To avoid two tigers fighting, one must be injured. Zhuge Liang wrote a letter to Guan Yu stating, "I heard General Guan wishes to compete with Ma Chao. In my view, though Ma Chao is exceptionally brave, he can only be compared to Yi De. So how could he match the esteemed general with the beautiful beard? Moreover, you are guarding Jingzhou. If you leave and cause any loss, how could you bear the blame?" After reading the letter, Guan Yu laughed and said, "Only Kongming understands my heart." He showed the letter to his retainers and abandoned his plan to travel to Sichuan for the contest. Zhuge Liang was no less skilled than Yanzi. His use of the strategy of provoking the general reached a divine level of mastery, accurately grasping the pulse of his target. In 2008, Cao Cao personally led over 200,000 troops southward. In Jiangdong, Sun Quan wavered between resisting Cao or surrendering. Following Lu Su's advice, Sun Quan considered allying with Liu Bei to oppose Cao Cao. At the same time, Zhuge Liang, after discussing with Liu Bei, also advocated for an alliance with Sun to resist Cao. Analyzing the situation and strategies of Jiangdong Zhuge, Liang predicted that Sun Quan would send someone to probe. As expected, Lu Su arrived, initiating a brilliant diplomatic negotiation led by Zhuge Liang. Hearing that Jiangdong had sent a representative, Zhuge Liang joyfully declared, "The matter is settled." He carefully instructed Liu Bei to direct anyone discussing the fight against Cao Cao to him. Zhuge Liang not only aimed to gather information from the visitor through talks, but also sought to build rapport during negotiations. As a result, he won over Lu Su, a straightforward man. Lu Su revealed that Jiangdong was wavering between resistance and surrender, with Sun Quan the decision-maker, fearing Cao's mighty army and hesitating to commit to resistance. At the same time, Lu Su promised to propose inviting Zhuge Liang to Dongwu to rally support for opposing Cao. Later events proved that during the negotiations in Jiangdong, Lu Su indeed acted as a guide and mediator, greatly supporting Zhuge Liang. Before meeting Jiangdong's key decision-makers, Zhuge Liang first faced a group of timid civil officials advocating surrender to Cao. Though not decision-makers, these officials significantly influenced Sun Quan's decisions. Among them was Zhang Zhao, a second-generation founder of Jiangdong. When Sun Quan's brother Sun Che was dying, he appointed Zhang Zhao as a key advisor for Jiangdong's internal affairs. The surrender faction's stance shook Sun Quan's resolve to resist Cao. Zhuge Liang employed a decisive tactic likened to a single stroke to slay the ghost of surrender, ruthlessly refuting the surrender arguments without mercy. Subsequently, Zhuge Liang met with Sun Quan. Observing Sun Quan's green eyes, red beard, and dignified aura, Zhuge Liang noted his strong pride in establishing his state and defeating rivals. He decided that provocation, not persuasion, was the way forward. Facing Jiangdong's supreme authority, Zhuge Liang targeted Sun Quan's conflicted mindset of surrender or resist. He exaggerated Cao Cao's strength bluntly, stating that if Sun Quan did not quickly resolve to resist, he might as well surrender immediately. Unwilling to accept humiliation, Sun Quan retorted, "If so, why hasn't Liu Yuzhou surrendered to Cao?" Seizing the moment, Zhuge Liang threw a grenade that Sun Quan could not withstand. In the past, Tian Heng, a mere warrior of Qi, refused to be humiliated. How much more so for Liu Yuzhou, a heroic descendant of the imperial line admired by all, though circumstances differ, both are true men who would never submit to others. This grenade both provoked and struck Sun Quan, highlighting Liu Bei's firm resolve to resist Cao. Deeply offended, Sun Quan's expression changed. He stood up, flicked his sleeve, and walked into the inner chambers. Later, Zhuge Liang also used the tactic of mocking weaknesses against Zhou Yu, igniting Zhou Yu's hatred for Cao Cao, thus brilliantly completing his critical mission to Jiangdong through the strategy of provoking the general. The third step in the strategy of provoking the general strike at the other party's sore spot. In April 1964, Marshal Chen Yi, then China's foreign minister, led a delegation to Jakarta, Indonesia, to prepare for the Second Asia-Africa Conference. He met with President Sukarno of Indonesia and found their views misaligned. Sukarno wanted the Second Asia-Africa Conference to be held in Bandung that same year. Chen Yi presented his perspective. The first Asia-Africa Conference was held in Bandung, so the second should take place in an African country. Clearly, the differing views created tension in the preparatory meeting, subtly leading to a dispute. To maintain his stance without damaging harmony and to achieve consensus while uniting with international allies, Chen Yi prioritized the collective interest. He respected Sukarno while tactfully preserving his dignity, encouraging him to accept the proposal. Chen Yi said to Sukarno, "Africa has over 40 independent nations. If you, Mr. President, advocate holding the conference in Africa, it would be a powerful act of support for the African nations' struggle for independence. This would earn you praise as a visionary leader who prioritizes the greater good, showcasing the demeanor of a great statesman. Your speech there would carry even greater influence." Through this approach, Chen Yi put himself in Sukarno's position, thinking from his perspective and using diplomatic, non-confrontational language while embodying the Bandung spirit championed by Premier Zhou Enlai. He skillfully acted as an advisor, guiding Sukarno toward a wise decision. After hearing Chen Yi's analysis, Sukarno found it reasonable, but due to pride, still insisted on holding the conference that year. Noticing the shift in Sukarno's stance, Chen Yi seized the opportunity and continued persuading with a humorous tone to ease the tension. "You are the president, and I volunteer to be your chief of staff. Would you agree to that?" This tactful remark preserved Sukarno's dignity while reinforcing the spirit of unity from the Bandung conference. Naturally, Sukarno could not refuse and had no choice but to nod in agreement. To put it precisely, the provocation in the strategy of provoking the general involves using reason to persuade the other party, transforming a matter of wanting or not wanting to do into something they feel compelled to do. This method is particularly effective in Chinese culture, where moral traditions emphasize virtue, righteousness, and honor. By appealing to someone's pride and sense of justice, They instinctively feel that fulfilling the request is a righteous act. A mother once shared a story about her son during a conversation. The boy wanted his mother to buy him new jeans but feared rejection since he already owned a pair. Instead of begging or crying, he said innocently, yet cleverly, "Mom, have you ever seen a kid with just one pair of jeans?" This simple, witty remark touched the mother's heart. Later, recounting the story, she said, "My son's words made me think. If I didn't meet his request, I felt I wouldn't be fulfilling my duty as a mother. Even though money was tight, I didn't want to disappoint him." With just one simple sentence, the boy persuaded his mother and got what he wanted. Though unintentional, he brilliantly applied the strategy of provoking the general. Another way to provoke the general is to deliberately belittle the other party, sparking their competitive spirit and determination to prove themselves. In chapter 65 of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, when Ma Chao attacked a pass, Zhuge Liang said to Liu Bei, "Only two generals, Zhang Fei and Zhao Yun, can match Ma Chao." Liu Bei replied, "Zhao Yun is leading troops far away and cannot return in time, but Zhang Fei is here. I can send him to fight Ma Chao." Pretending not to hear, Zhuge Liang continued, "To Liu Bei, Ma Chao is both wise and brave, unmatched by most in the world. Only by recalling Zhao Yun from Jingzhou would we have a chance to defeat him." Hearing this, Zhang Fei angrily shouted, "Why does the strategist underestimate me? I once single-handedly held back Cao Cao's army of tens of thousands. Am I to fear Ma Chao?" Zhuge Liang, feigning calm, responded, "When you roared and collapsed the bridge at Dangyang, it was because Cao Cao didn't know your true strength. If he had, you might not have escaped." Moreover, Ma Chao has defeated Cao Cao multiple times, forcing him to cut his beard and abandon his robe to flee. Even Zhao Yun might not defeat Ma Chao. Furious, Zhang Fei swore, "Today I will go to battle. If I don't defeat Ma Chao, I'll accept any punishment." Seeing that his provocation had worked, Zhuge Liang followed through. If the general dares to sign a military pledge, then take the vanguard. As a result, Zhang Fei fought Ma Chao for a day and a night, engaging in over 220 bouts. Though he didn't win, he significantly diminished Ma Chao's momentum. Ultimately, Zhuge Liang used a strategy to persuade Ma Chao to surrender to Liu Bei. In Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Zhuge Liang frequently used the strategy of provoking the general to motivate Zhang Fei, knowing his fiery temperament. Whenever a critical battle arose, Zhuge Liang deliberately suggested that Zhang Fei was incapable or would be negligent due to drinking. This enraged Zhang Fei, prompting him to sign a military pledge, thereby heightening his sense of responsibility focus and determination to fight. The fourth step in the strategy of provoking the general leveraged the psychology of opposition. A married couple once had a dispute. While the wife was visiting her parents, the husband invited friends over and got drunk, collapsing at home. When the wife returned and saw this, she asserted her authority, shouting, "Get out!" The friends quickly left. A heated argument erupted between the couple, neither yielding, and the quarrel grew intense. The husband, furious, raised his hand to strike his wife. Suddenly, she burst into laughter and said, "Well done, well done. I didn't expect you to stoop so low." "Go ahead, hit me. If you do, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Strangely, as soon as she spoke, the husband slowly lowered his hand. The fierce conflict ended instantly. Applying this psychology of opposition is an effective method of provoking the general. In some cases, if you forbid certain people from doing something, they will insist on doing it. Conversely, if you say, "Go ahead, do it," they may hesitate or lose the desire to act. Understanding this principle can in many situations allow you to manipulate others' minds with ease. If you tell children, "Study hard," they may resist reading. If you say minors aren't allowed to smoke, they might sneak a cigarette. This phenomenon isn't limited to children. When people are ordered or commanded, they often develop a rebellious mindset. Mr. Seiji Tsushima from Qingdao used this human psychology. In one election, he was almost certain to win without effort. He didn't campaign, didn't care about the voting schedule, and even publicly declared, "I don't expect any of you to vote for me, not in the slightest. In fact, I beg you to spare me. I don't want to be elected at all," would I before quickly leaving for abroad. As a result, he won with an overwhelming number of votes. This was a brilliant move that reversed the voters' psychology. If you visit Tokyo Disneyland, you'll notice there are no ashtrays and might ask the staff, "Is smoking banned here?" The response would be, "No, smoking isn't banned. Feel free to flick your ashes on the ground." Yet when you look around, you won't see a single cigarette butt, as the staff promptly clean up any litter. Consequently, when visitors want to smoke, they feel reluctant to litter on such clean grounds. Whether due to this psychological effect or not, very few people smoke in Tokyo Disneyland. Even though cigarette butts could be carelessly discarded daily when told, "Go ahead, litter," people feel too ashamed to do so. If you have subordinates and only shout orders, their work efficiency will hardly improve. Instead, try saying, "You don't need to work so hard." For salaried employees who understand the principle of earning more for more work and less for less hearing. The opposite from their boss can spur them to be more proactive. This method of provocation involves reverse psychology, but one must distinguish its purpose. Reverse psychology often aims to taunt. To avoid playing the lute to a cow, you must hope the other party grasps your intent. This form of reverse psychology is a form of deception and must be executed subtly to be effective, ensuring the other party doesn't discern your true intentions. If they realize you're provoking them, how can the act continue? The fifth step in the strategy of provoking the general, recognize that straightforward people easily reveal their true feelings. In 1812, after Napoleon's defeat in the war against Russia, England and Prussia formed an allied coalition to oppose France and launched a counter-offensive. Though Napoleon achieved victories in some campaigns, the overall trend was his decline. Austria, France's ally, was actively preparing for war while threatening to end the alliance with France and proposing numerous conditions, all of which Napoleon rejected. In July 1813, Napoleon met with Austria's envoy Metternich at Mancouri Castle in Dresden. He intended to use this opportunity to intimidate Metternich and probe the results of Metternich's recent negotiations with the Tsar. Napoleon, with a sword at his side and hat tucked under his arm, received Metternich with imposing authority. After a few pleasantries and inquiries about Austria's emperor, Franz Napoleon's face darkened and he spoke bluntly. "So you too want to fight? Fine, if you want a battle, you'll get one. I defeated Russia at Borodino and now it's your turn. If that's what you want, we'll meet in Vienna. Your nature never changes. Lessons have no effect on you." I put Franz on the throne 3 times. I agreed to live in peace with him forever. I married his daughter. Back then I told myself, "You're doing something foolish." But I did it, and now I regret it. Seeing Napoleon's anger and loss of composure, Metternich remained cold and calm, deliberately provoking the belligerent bull. He reminded Napoleon that peace was in his hands and that his power must be scaled back to a reasonable limit or he would collapse in future battles. Infuriated, Napoleon declared that no ally could threaten him, no matter how strong their forces, and that he could triumph over any hero. He then boasted that he had precise knowledge of the Austrian army, receiving detailed intelligence daily. Metternich interrupted, pointing out that Napoleon's current troops were not seasoned soldiers but mere boys. Napoleon, agitated, responded, "You don't know how a soldier thinks. For someone like me, the lives of 1,000,000 men mean nothing." With that, he threw his hat aside. Metternich did not pick it up for him. Noticing this act of disrespect, Napoleon continued, "I married a princess to reconcile medieval prejudices with my modern regime, but I deceived myself. Now I fully recognize my mistake. My throne may fall because of it, but I'll drag the world down into ruins with me." Metternich remained unmoved. When intimidation failed, Napoleon switched to flattery and deception. As he saw Metternich off, he patted the Austrian minister's shoulder and said gently, "Well, you know how things will turn out. You won't declare war on me, will you?" Metternich immediately replied, "Your Majesty, you are finished. I had a premonition of this when I arrived, and now I leave with no doubt." Later, Metternich told others, "Napoleon bared everything to me. This man is completely finished." Soon after, Austria joined the Sixth Coalition against France. In this confrontation, Metternich clearly emerged victorious. The self-proclaimed master of strategy, Marshal Napoleon, could not control his rage, repeatedly losing composure and speaking arrogantly, attempting to bully Metternich. In contrast, Metternich remained calm, fulfilled his mission, and seized the opportunity to provoke Napoleon, exposing his inner thoughts. Metternich said little, but emphasized that European peace depended on Napoleon, while concluding that Napoleon's stubborn refusal to change would lead to his downfall by the European coalition. The outcome proved Metternich's prediction correct. Napoleon also knew how to use the strategy of provoking the general, but he lost his temper and fell into Metternich's trap. This strategy is often used to probe the intentions and attitudes of others. The key is to feign indifference when faced with the opponent's lofty or enigmatic words, secretly gauging their true feelings and gradually drawing their hidden thoughts to the surface. Once they become heated, they will recklessly pour out their emotions, ultimately falling into the trap you carefully wove. This technique can be applied in everyday conversations. When the other party starts to vent, pretending to doubt or disbelieve them is a master key to satisfying your curiosity. Some clever students use this by challenging or provoking their teachers, prompting them to reveal profound knowledge. These interactions occur subtly, causing the other party to fall into the trap unknowingly. This is the brilliance of the strategy of provoking the general. For example, in recent months, Mr. Wu, a prosperous suit shop owner, saw his business revenues soar. The tax authorities demanded he pay additional taxes, but he refused to acknowledge the increased revenue. Tax collectors visited his shop multiple times, but he concealed the truth. One day, an experienced tax official named Tan arrived. After some casual conversation, Old Man Tan expressed concern and asked, "There's a large batch of goods available. Are you interested in buying?" As a businessman, how could he resist? What kind of goods? How much? A batch of 200 new style suits. I'm looking to replace old styles with new ones. How much? Each suit is 180 yuan. If you take the whole lot, I'll give you a 10% discount. But do you have that kind of capital? What a joke, I'll take them all. The whole lot, I warn you, full payment is due within 2 months. How dare you underestimate me? Can't I sell them all in 2 months? That's 30,000 Tongwen peanuts. Which month this year haven't I sold 20,000 yuan worth? Great. Then first settle your back taxes and we'll talk. Oh no,